Now, I'm going to say a few things that this is for people that are just watching on the replay, because usually right at the beginning of a live stream that no one's really here. So anyone watching on the replay, some things I've learned from just doing my very first live stream about a week ago is that it might say that there's people here, and then YouTube is actually showing them an ad. So I could be talking away and no one's actually going to be seeing what I'm saying because they're watching the ad that YouTube is making them watch. So to start out, like I said, I'm going to just start talking. I know no one's here, so this will mainly be for replay people. But I did a live stream about a week ago, and that was kind of my first time doing this live stream out in nature. I'm definitely going to show you around. But some of the features on here are very new to me, so I don't really know what I'm doing. What I learned is that there was, of course, people in the chat. When your live stream ends, it tells you how many people you had in that live stream. It told me I had 15 people. So there were messages, and some of the messages popped up, and it would give you like there'd be like a pop-up saying this message is held for review. And so I don't really know where you're supposed to click or whatever to review it. So I figured I would just look at the messages after the live stream posted, like at the end. And so this is kind of like learning as we go here. So what happened is after the live stream posted, you couldn't see the comments. And I thought, well, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I hid the comments. Maybe there's like a setting I didn't choose. And so I tried to Google it, look it up, and basically it said that you need to wait like 24 hours for the live chat to actually appear on your video. And I waited and I waited and I waited, and it probably about 15 hours after I did the video, you could see about 15 hours after I did my video, I could finally see what the live chat was, and then I could go through the messages and I could click on the ones that had been held for review. I don't know why, YouTube just randomly will hold some messages. And I noticed that anytime someone uses a lot of emojis, it would hold that message. It wouldn't show that message in the chat. And so I didn't get to see that until afterwards, after the live chat happened. So I do see some people here. I see someone named Karen Walker. Isn't that the name of someone from Will and Grace? Alexandra, just wanted to say hello to anyone watching this. Alexandria, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And I see there's someone here from southern Missouri. I've never been to Missouri. So for anyone wondering, I am filming here in Washington State in the United States of America. So I don't know where my audience is from. Thanks for watching. So what I was trying to say is, from my first live stream I did a week ago, there were a lot of comments that I didn't see until after the fact. And what I was saying was that the actual comments that people leave in the live chat didn't actually appear right away. It took like 15 hours for YouTube to show what the live chat said. So then I was able to view the comments at that point in time. I say comments, I'm talking about the live chat basically. And so I was just gonna go live today and see if we could try it again. Like I said, I'm new at this. I don't really know what I'm doing. But if this is your first time watching me, basically I live in Washington. I live in Seattle, Washington, and I pretty much do videos about what it's like to live here in Seattle, Washington. And when I first moved here, basically I was living out of my car. I've lived here now for about 9 years, and everything is still, in a sense, brand new to me. I'm still learning and exploring, and so I like to do videos about different places. Let me just say that, yes, I'm in the woods right now, and I'm someone who is not a nature hippie type person. I am probably the exact opposite of that, yet most of my time here spent in Washington has been camping, hiking, and living that kind of a lifestyle, which is totally not the lifestyle that I was accustomed to. I would consider myself a city girl, living in the big city. Seattle is, of course, a city, but outside of Seattle, as you can see, there's a lot of beautiful nature. And I don't know if I'm going to try to turn this camera around and see if this works. So here you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. This is pretty much, most of Washington looks like this. Most of Washington is very green, very beautiful, lots of trees and forests and camping and hiking. And so that's something that I have basically over time come to learn to enjoy nature, get fresh air, and a lot of times it's about just trying to like have the stamina and get in shape and have the energy to go out and do these hikes. I try to do very basic, simple things that are easy to do. So I think one of my previous videos I talked about what some of my favorite things are. So what I was going to do in this video today is, you know, of course, talk about myself, but some of this is more like inspiration that if you were looking to do your own YouTube channel, maybe we could talk about some topics that you could talk about in one of your future videos. Travel videos are always a good idea. Like I said, I'm just out here in nature. If I was to just like film myself walking around in nature, people would probably find that interesting. So if you happen to live in an area like the desert, if you live in the mountains, travel videos are usually something that's really great to do, especially even if you lived in a big city like New York or Las Vegas. You can just film what's going on out and about in your area. So another topic that I said, like my favorite things, that was one of the things kind of inspired by the whole Oprah's favorite things. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be gifting free cars to everyone, but I was talking about some of my favorite things, excuse me, some of my favorite things to have when living outdoors is bug spray. Bug spray is very, very important. Right now, this must be mosquito season. I have had so many mosquito bites, it's driving me crazy. So that might be something, excuse me, I had to cough. That might be something that you would consider to always keep handy, bug spray. And for anyone who is concerned about chemicals on your skin, I think there's also, you know, very like home remedy DIY. People have talked about having just like a bar of Irish Spring soap somehow deters bugs. But I do not like getting obviously bit by mosquitoes. Nobody does. But I also feel like I'm extra sensitive to them. I feel like it seems to bother me a lot more than other people. Aside from getting all itchy, I get giant welts, and then it makes me want to scratch, and it, you know, the more you scratch, the more it just like causes more issues, and I can get feverish, and so avoiding mosquitoes at all costs is important. So if you always have bug spray with you when you are going to be out in nature like I am, that is one of my so-called favorite things. Another favorite thing that I always like to keep handy is a flashlight. I actually have more than one flashlight, and I don't have it on me now, but what I wanted to show you is I actually have a flashlight that it's like a, yeah, I don't know, it's like an LED light, so it's a very strong light, but you can charge it, you don't need batteries, and so I hate having to just keep buying batteries. So so I really like having something that is chargeable and it lasts long, and then when the charge runs out, of course you can recharge it. You don't have to go to the store and buy more batteries. I should show that to you sometime on one of my videos, because having a flashlight is very handy. Late at night, gets dark, and you want to watch where you're stepping. I think what had happened last week when I was doing a live stream is I encountered a snake, and so you absolutely do not want to be out walking in the wilderness and step on a snake. There was some other stuff I was going to talk about today, just in general. As I mentioned, when I first moved here to Washington, I was basically living out of my car. I have a two-door car, and then over time, I ended up living, well, I knew someone who had a travel trailer, and they said that I could live in that, and it was like a really old, rundown travel trailer, and I lived in that for like almost a year. So technically, even though I didn't have a home, I was living in a trailer. And when I say like trailer, it wasn't like I was in a trailer park. I was in, and it wasn't like a motorhome where I could drive it away. A travel trailer is something where you have to hitch it to the back of a truck and tow it around town. So I was in a travel trailer for quite some time, and because it was all old and run down, there's a lot of things on the travel trailer that is very open to the elements, meaning they're kind of like these flaps on the side where if you're going to hook up your electric or water hose or anything, you've got to open a flap and then hook it up. But then the flap like remains open, and so it's like you're open to the elements, meaning your trailer can get really cold because you've got the outdoor air coming in. You can get, of course, like spiders, like, you know, heaven forbid you get like a raccoon or something like that sneaking in. But basically these flaps are just open to the elements, and I'm sure like newer travel trailers and RVs and motorhomes are built, you know, way better now. But this one was like a super old one, and so I was living in it, but like open to the elements. I was constantly getting like spider bites, and like people would give me advice like how you should have like peppermint oil or spray like peppermint spray or something to deter spiders. So when I talk about bug spray, you know, if you have some sort of like DIY, you know, home remedy of what works best to get rid of spiders and mosquito bites, feel free to share, because I am open to anything. I think I've heard people talk about you take a vanilla extract and you put it on a cotton ball and put that on your skin. I don't know if that works or not. I don't even know if that might attract more bugs. Who knows? I'm not someone that enjoys getting bit by mosquitoes and spiders and having bug bites all over. So even if that does happen, it might help to have some sort of ointment cream for any of those bug bites as part of being in nature. Now, since we are here, like, I was going to just try to show you around a little bit so you're not just listening to me yap away. So let me do this. Here we go. We got the trees. We got all this. So here's an idea of what's going on out here. I do appreciate you watching me today. I will probably keep this short because, you know, I guess I don't have too much to talk about. But I wanted to at least try out this live stream thing because I haven't really done very many live streams. I'm new to this in a sense, and now that YouTube says that I have enough subscribers that I can go live, then that's what I wanted to do today. So like I said, I appreciate that. Let me see if I can sit down here and get comfortable again. Let's try this. Okay, here we go. I think because when I originally sat down, like, the sun wasn't shining in my eyes, and now it is, so you can kind of see here. Let's try to reposition ourselves. I might try going live later at a different location, but I just stopped here. So one thing I noticed in the last live stream I did, the sound, because I was close to the highway, the sound wasn't so good. I would consider getting a microphone, a dedicated microphone, so you're not listening to all this background sound, because once again, I am by the highway, so you can kind of hear all the traffic in the background, so the sound may not be good quality, but this is kind of like part of my learning. So now that you're experiencing it along with me, I am going to kind of like go through, like, I have some notes I took here to come up with things that we could talk about today. So let me see here. Give me just a moment. So what I typically do is I kind of like make little notes to myself, and that way I can think of, okay, this is what these are topics that I would like to cover in future videos. But some of them are just like short little thoughts I have that it's like, well, it's not really worth making a whole video about. So you know, so I just kind of make a note to myself to mention it at some point in time. Okay, so let me go through here. Oh, okay. I remember. So one of my last videos, someone had left a comment on my video and they said, "Why don't you just get a job?" And I thought, well, that's a strange comment because I have a job. And pretty much all of my videos, I talk about the fact that I have a job and that I moved to Seattle for a job. I've had the same exact job that I've had for the last 5 years. I've worked for the same exact company. I have a job. I'm not sure why someone would be concerned about or make a comment like, "Why don't you get a job?" I assume that means they've never watched any of my videos because I have a job. I go to work, just like, regular 9 to 5, Monday through Friday type job. Today is Friday and I have the day off. But basically, like, I just thought it was a weird comment. Someone saying, "Why don't you get a job?" I have a job. Now, if they're referring to YouTube, they think that YouTube's my job. Uh, YouTube's not my job. This is like a hobby. I don't get paid through YouTube. There are plenty of people that do get paid through YouTube, and that's why I think YouTube is a great opportunity for anyone that wants to make a little side money or maybe be their own boss. Because if you're making videos and YouTube basically requires you have so many subscribers. But if you're making a lot of videos and you can make money off of YouTube, then I think that's great, and that people should try doing that. Even if it's like not that much money, it's just like side job, part-time job, whatever. Basically, it's kind of like you can work at your own pace. You can post videos whenever you want to post. You can go live whenever you want to go live. And be your own boss basically. So if this person was thinking, well, why don't you just get a job, thinking that YouTube's my job? YouTube's not my job. But there are people who do make it their job and they get paid from their videos, and not just from their videos, but they might have sponsorships. So YouTube, I guess, will pay you based on, how many views or how long people watch you for. I don't really know all the ins and outs of that, but basically, then if you were to do sponsorships where you basically on your video you talk about a certain product and you try to sell that product to people, and then if people buy that product you get like a percentage of the sales. Like there's different ways that you can make money off of YouTube. And so YouTube, like I said, is not my job, but it is a great way for people to make money, and that's why I would encourage anyone who's interested in just looking to start doing YouTube. I hope they will look into it. Now, I'm just real quick trying to check the comments here. So basically, that was just to address that question. I mean, like I said, I have a job. I'm not sure why they left that comment, but if someone was to ask, like, when I first moved here and I was living in my car, I've talked about this in my previous videos, that basically I had been living in Arizona and then I was offered a job in Washington, and then I was like, well, I really want to take the job, but I don't have anywhere to live. And so I was like, well, eventually it came down to like, I'll just sleep in my car until I find a place to live. Meaning I would look for apartments, or I would try to find a room for rent, or whatever my plan was. I wasn't exactly sure. I just knew that I had a job, and I knew that meant I would be having income once I started the job. So I just figured all I had to do was get myself up to Washington, and so that's what I did. But then when people ask, like, well, what was your goal? Like, it sounds like your goal was to just get a job and then find a place to live. But oddly, once I came to Washington and I was living in my car, it was kind of like, well, now I'm comfortable living in my car, so I don't really need a place to live. I wasn't really seeking out apartments or anything. I mean, I knew in the back of my mind that would eventually be what I would end up doing. But at that point in time, I was like, well, I've kind of got this whole thing figured out where I could just live in my car. And as long as I have a place to sleep at night, which was my car, then I didn't really need an apartment. Now, like I said, I did get a storage unit, so any stuff I had, I did keep in a storage unit. But as far as like having somewhere to live, I would just live in my car, and my car was my home. And that kind of wasn't a goal to like, okay, I'm just gonna do this for so many months and then I'll move into an apartment. I didn't really have that goal. Hold on. I apologize. I had to cough. I didn't really have that goal. I didn't set out to be like, okay, well, once I earn a certain amount of money, then I'm going to put a deposit on the place. or I'm gonna just do this for a few months and then I'm gonna move into a place. It was kind of like I just went about my day, going to work every day and living in my car, and that lifestyle seemed to work out great for me. Now, what did end up happening and what kind of led me into finding a place to stay uh, was it was winter time and I got really sick, and I got sick with bronchitis. And at that point in time, I thought, well, maybe I will just stay in a hotel. And I started looking for like long-term stays, hotels where you can like rent by the week, that sort of thing. Um, and of course, that wasn't going to be something that was like affordable to continuously do. But I knew for the time that I was sick. Don't worry, I'm not sick now. I think I swallowed wrong. But what I did was I just stayed in this like hotel, motel, whatever you want to call it. I just stayed there for a while, and I wasn't feeling well, and the weather was really cold. It was winter time. It was snowing, and so at that point in time, I thought maybe I should find somewhere to stay, just through the winter, like just while it's snowing and cold. And I started going on Craigslist, and I looked for rooms for rent. People had rooms for rent. And I will tell you, so I did end up, there was a older lady, and she had a house, very, very nice house in a very nice neighborhood, and she was renting out rooms. So there were different people living in this house. She also lived in the house. And I think I paid like, I don't know, at that point in time, I think I paid like $500 to rent out a room in her house. And this was, sorry, this was to just rent it out for a month, and then it was like month to month, so there was no lease or anything. She said I could, if as long as I told her ahead of time if I was going to stay or go for the following month. So I paid for the month. I stayed. As I was staying there, I decided I was not going to keep staying there for reasons I'll tell you about. But being there for that month, through the winter time, through the snow, and essentially like through Christmas, was, I guess, good to get me, as you say, off the streets, so that I wasn't sleeping in my car. But it was temporary. It wasn't like I was gonna live there forever. Could I continue living there? Yes, but I just wasn't comfortable there. It was nice to stay there for a while, and I think that's kind of the whole thing. Like, you might think like, well, whatever uncomfortableness I experienced, that that should have like outweighed having to sleep in a car. And I get that. I get what you're saying. So I basically went, I stayed at this lady's house, and so it was rented out to different people. So it was kind of like all strangers living in this house. But she had kind of like a lot of strange rules. For instance, she had a washer dryer, which is great, so I could wash my clothes. But then she told me that I couldn't use detergent in the washer, and that she said hot water cleans your clothes just fine. You don't need any soap or anything. And it's like, okay, so I'm like washing all my clothes in hot water with no detergent or soap or anything, because those are her rules. But, I just felt like sometimes, like, I don't know if I have stinky clothes or stains or whatever, like, I feel like it's not my home, so I can't make the rules. I can't, I don't want to break anybody else's rules, but if it was my washer, I would use some sort of detergent. Like, she had certain rules about you couldn't keep certain food in the house because I guess she was vegetarian or vegan, and she didn't want me having meat in the house. Usually I eat out anyways, so that wasn't really an issue. And hi. That's a very lovely dog.
Hi, Dolly. Oh my gosh, hi. Hi, Dolly. Hi. That's so nice.
So for anyone watching right now, there was a very lovely dog that just walked by. I don't know if you were able to see it in the corner of the screen. That's why I stopped talking, because there was someone walking by. So what I was saying about living with this lady is she was very weird about didn't want certain things in the house, meaning certain foods, certain like meat in the refrigerator. That's fine. I don't cook much, but I usually eat out anyways. So I wasn't gonna I wasn't too concerned about what food I was keeping in the fridge. Uh, she didn't want me to have any friends over. She didn't want me to have any guests over. It wasn't like I had any sort of curfew, but she was just kind of weird about things being very quiet at nighttime, meaning to not have a television on or to watch movies or anything like that. And so I understand this is someone else's house. You should respect their rules. But I just felt like I'm paying money to be here. I should be able to watch television if I can't sleep at night, but that's kind of how it goes. The bathroom rule was probably what was my concern the most, because now I'm sharing a bathroom with all these people, but sometimes it was very hard to get into the bathroom because other people are using it. So if I wanted to take a shower, the way her bathroom was set up was there was a bathtub and then there was a stand-up shower that was separate. She said no one was allowed to use the bathroom. No one was allowed to use the bathtub. That's fine. But then with the stand-up shower, she was like, okay, well, as soon as you're done with the shower, she had these like cleaners and stuff. She wanted me to spray down the whole shower. She had like a squeegee and towels and everything. And so basically, it was like every time I took a shower, I was supposed to deep clean it afterwards for the next person, which I'm sure for cleanliness, that makes sense, right? But it just kind of became a hassle, because it's like I'm basically taking a shower and now I have to like deep clean like the whole entire shower, like all the tile walls that were in the whole like room that was the shower room, and to the point that like I had to spray it clean and then I had to dry all the walls, and like it's just like it was kind of like, okay, I have to do this every time I shower. I'd rather just shower at the gym. Now, talking about showering at the gym, before I mentioned that I went to 24-hour fitness, and so 24-hour fitness, I'm sure every gym is different, but 24-hour fitness, they would provide you with a towel. They provide you with, there's like shampoo, conditioner, lotions, things like that. So pretty much like anything you need. You didn't have to bring all those toiletries with you. You didn't have to like bring a towel with you and then worry about taking a wet towel back to your car. 24-hour fitness was very helpful in that way. I think other gyms, you probably have to bring your own towel. And then once you're done, like you have to find a way to like dry your towel in your car. That can have like a lot of moisture in your car. And then you don't want to get like moisture and mold and things like that in your car. So that's why I mentioned some of the benefits of the 24-hour fitness. And then, hey, and then also, like I said, the 24-hour fitness also had a swimming pool, and they had one of these things that was like a quick dry for your bathing suit. So after you've been in the swimming pool, you don't have to take this, soaking wet bathing suit home with you. You put it in this quick dry machine, and then that way, I would usually, because I usually always went swimming when I went to the gym, just because I like to go swimming. They had not only had a swimming pool, but they also had a hot tub that was very relaxing. I'm mentioning all this because, so I'm talking about what it was like living at this lady's house, this older lady's house, that, she had all these like kind of, I don't want to say extreme rules, but it was extreme for me because I feel like when it's your own place, you can kind of do whatever you want. You can take a shower when you want. You can put whatever food in the fridge you want. You can wash your clothes in the washing machine however you want. But I just decided I didn't want to continue living with this lady, so then I went back to living in my car. And by that point, like kind of like the really cold part of winter was over. So, I was okay just going back to my car, going back to showering at the gym, keeping all my stuff in storage. Because even when I stayed at her house, I still kept all my stuff in storage. It didn't make any sense to move all of my belongings into her house, since it was just going to be a temporary thing. So Even though, like I said, I'm kind of like here out in public where people are just out like walking their dog, walking by, saying hi. So if you're wondering why sometimes I'm stopping and looking around, it's because there's people passing me by. And so let me continue through my notes here of what I was going to talk about today. One thing I will point out is today is very nice weather. So like I said, there are people just out going for a walk. But one thing about living here is you do have to kind of plan around the weather. So you do have to plan around the weather because sometimes like you may plan to like go out and go for a hike, but then it ends up like being a rainy day, and then that kind of ruins your whole plans for the day. Another thing that I've looked into is planning. You can go online and usually check for when the low tide tracker is. And the reason why that's important is if you're planning to go to any of the parks that are near like a beach waterfront area, it's always good to check when the low tides are to know if you'll be able to actually walk on that beach, or if the water's going to be so high that you won't even get to like go and enjoy it and go out on the beach and have fun. So those are things that I usually check here, is the weather and the tides. Okay, tides and weather is also going to be important if you're someone who does a lot of boating, which I do not, but there are people that like to go on boats, kayaks, paddle boards. Stuff like that's very big here, and so it's important to check all that stuff before you go out for the day. Let me see what else I was gonna mention. Oh yeah, so when I was talking about going to the gym, especially going to the gym to shower, excuse me. I was talking about going to the gym to shower. Some of the things that I would bring is shower shoes, like slip-on shoes, flip-flops, something that are like rubber plastic shoes you can wear in the shower. And then also, sometimes, I do believe they provided hair dryers, but I have one that's like a, high-powered hair dryer. I have lots of hair. It takes a long time to dry all this hair. It's like a professional grade hair dryer, so I don't have to spend like an hour drying my hair. So when I would go to the gym, like I said, I didn't have to bring a towel, I didn't have to bring all my toiletries, but I would basically bring with me like a change of clothes, underwear, my hair dryer, like toothbrush, toothpaste, and so I had a bag that I would carry all this in, and I still have that bag. It was like a netted bag, so it was kind of like not a fabric bag, but it was one so that air can get through. So I'd keep my plastic shoes in there for my flip-flops for the shower, and I always kept that bag. With me in the car for when I would for when I had to go to take a shower at the gym. So don't forget your flip-flops if you're going to be showering at the gym. Let me see if I got any more notes here. So some of the topics that I might cover in a future video is going to be about when you live in Seattle, the body of water that's near Seattle is the Puget Sound. you are not near the coast. Like you're not near the west coast of where the actual ocean is. So when I moved here, you know, my thoughts were, where's the beach? Because I was used to, when I was younger, I lived in Southern California, and of course you have the whole Pacific Ocean. But in Seattle, you're not living next to the ocean. You live near water, and there's Lake Washington, and there's Puget Sound, and Seattle's kind of like surrounded by all of that water. And so it's all beaches all around that area, but that is not the ocean. I wanted to maybe like do a video kind of explaining that and explaining like where do you go if you want to go to the beach, because you know, like when I think of the beach in Southern California, I think of like walking in the sand, walking in the ocean. You can get that kind of experience in Seattle as well, even though it's not technically the ocean. Okay, another thing I wanted to talk about was there's been a lot of like remote areas that I live in when I've lived in Washington, to where you don't get radio or internet or TV signal. There's been a lot of areas of Washington I've kind of moved around since I've been here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, you might want to look into, I don't know if it's like Starlink or some sort of way to get signal in your vehicle when you're traveling and you're in these remote areas, and you can't pick up a phone signal. I will tell you that when I was living up in the far north part of Washington, the only TV signal and radio signals I got was from Canada. It was like all British Columbia news, even though I lived in Washington. And also my phone service signal would change to like a Canada provider, even though I was living in Washington. But that was like the cell towers were coming from Canada, the signal that I was picking up on. So some of that's kind of interesting. But you might want to look into a way to access, you know, for just safety and having contact with the outside world. You might want to look into some sort of provider where you can get a signal for your internet, cell phone. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know if that's like Starlink or if there's other providers that use it, that you can travel with it. But when I've been in these remote areas, a lot of times, like, say I'm just bored and I want to kick back and like look at something on my phone, like watch YouTube, or play like a video or something, watch a movie, well, I can't get a signal. And so this is where it's kind of a good idea to download some movies or something to your phone so that you have something to watch when you're not getting a signal. Also, if you have one of those accounts like Pandora, Spotify, something's like a streaming service, well, if you're out in nature and you're in a remote area, you're not going to be able to get your Spotify to work. You're not going to be able to stream music. So what you can do, I think if you have a paid account, is you can download a playlist, and it'll be saved to your phone or your computer or whatever. And then that way, when you're not getting a signal and your Spotify's not working, you still have music that you can play because you have it downloaded and saved somewhere. So that is some stuff that I would like to just point out for anyone that is looking to do some sort of camping or traveling around the country, and you hit one of those spots where you're not picking up a signal. So let me see what else I have here. I do see someone coming, so I think I will probably end the live stream now, but I do appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.